Hello everyone, welcome to another video. So I just finished watching The Wild Robot and I'm just here because I want to talk about, the lesson or how it resonated with me or my own personal reflection on this movie. So The Wild Robot follows the story of a robot who got caught up in a shipwreck and then now it's in the wild, and it was designed basically to help or provide solutions to problems. So I immediately thought of like a Baymax. Of course, since it wasn't designed for the wilderness, what ended up happening was as it tried to help all of the animals that it came across, it did a lot more bad than it did good. From there, what I found really interesting is, how did they think that, oh, this robot can understand the animals, so let's make the robot go into some kind of hibernation state or something and learn the language of the animals. So that's what it did. It learned the language, it could communicate with them, and then fast forward, the robot comes across, let's call it a duck. I don't really remember what type of animal it was, but a duck, a baby duck. It tried to help the duck and thought it was satisfactory, but then since the robot was the first thing that the duck saw, it thought that the robot was the mother. They got really close or like attached. They come across a fox, and the fox is hated by the entire island. They're on an island. Okay, so hated by the entire island. The three of them get into a very close bond of trying to like help each other and all that stuff. So initially, I thought that, after I finished the movie, I was like, okay, what is the life lesson for this movie? What did I learn? What did I think the moral of the story was? So at first, I thought it would be like teamwork or like helping one another. Maybe you can be whatever you want with the proper guidance. There were a lot of themes that I came across or lessons that I came across while watching the movie. But when I really like sat down and thought about what did I think the movie was about, or like what I learned personally about the movie, is dealing with hate. So that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. It is how to deal with hate. Let's get into it. So the reason why I think that it's dealing with hate is because first of all, we start off with a robot who isn't welcome in the island, right? No one asked for this robot's help, and then here he is trying to do things that it wasn't designed to do, which is help animals, I guess, or help the wild. So that's one thing. He was hated. The robot was hated, and then here comes the duck who lost its family, and then of course Fox says it too. The duck is a runt. I don't really know specifically what runt means, but I know runt is used as like a negative term. So because the duck was also raised by a robot, it was looked down upon in the whole like duck community. It's like, hey, you can't fly, you can't swim, you don't have parents, you were raised by this weirdo robot and you talk like a weirdo robot, right? So the duck was also pretty much hated by the entire duck community. And then we have the fox, who was hated by the entire island. Now, I'm not entirely sure why. I can't really remember. But maybe it's because foxes are like sly animals. They're tricky. Just from this theme, or like just from the three main characters of the movie, I already saw, like this is a trio that's hated by the entire island. They're not welcome, and people wouldn't mind if they just like disappeared. I feel like when it comes to dealing with hate, a lot of people have very, very different ways of like handling hate. The first thing that I actually want to talk about when it comes to dealing with hate is we're not supposed to return that type of energy onto other people. Just because people are mean to you, just because people say bad things or do things to you, doesn't mean that we should be what millennials or Gen Zers or whatever. They always say, I'm just returning that energy. And I think that's really the wrong approach when it comes to dealing with hate. I see so many things, especially on social media, and it's really, really disappointing. This is why I hate going into the comment section when I'm like scrolling through videos. It's because when there's a hate comment, people are like, oh, you're really bad. You're so bad. You should stop doing this. You should. And then suddenly people are like, you suck. And I'm like, bro, what? Why are you responding And even worse, there are even these like really bad cases where someone puts a hate comment or something, a hate comment, let's just call it a hate comment, and then suddenly someone replies, and then they say you should die or you should go kill yourself. And I'm like, oh my goodness, are you guys serious? Like, this is how you want to return that kind of comment. So I really think that this approach is really, really, really wrong. I really don't think that we should be returning that energy. So I think that the way that we should really be handling hate when we're like faced with it at the moment is to just really turn away. I'm a youth leader here in the US, and I recently just taught the kids about how Jesus said if someone, slaps you in the face, you turn your other cheek. And then if you ask for bread and they throw you a stone, you don't throw a stone back at them, right? So a lot of the kids thought it was funny because, the mindset is, hey, if someone hits you, you hit them back. And I told them that, hey, that's not the appropriate response to it. Instead, you're supposed to just accept it. So it's not just like, hey, let it happen. Of course, if you can avoid the situation, you avoid the situation. If you can like de-escalate, then you de-escalate. But you're not here trying to return that energy and escalate it even more. We're not trying to make the situation worse over here. Funny thing is, last week I also just taught the kids about like giving graciously. And then one of them was like, if I give to a homeless man and then they stab me, am I supposed to, like what Jesus said, am I supposed to tell them, hey, stab me once more? And I'm just like, they really have a very weird take into it. Maybe they're just joking around. I can't really tell. But I think the answer that they wanted was like, if the homeless person stabs me, can I stab them back? Kind of thing. So my answer, I just told them that that's kind of just life. So it's a very weird response, but what I wanted to tell them, and I did tell them this, is that if you're doing a good deed and someone repays you with evil, then like that doesn't mean you take back the good and then give them back evil. It's like if you give a homeless man money and then they kill you, that's just that. You're not supposed to be like, hey, you stabbed me, give me back my money. You can't just be like, hey, you stabbed me, let me stab you too. It's more about, hey, you yourself are doing something good. That in itself is already enough. You don't have to stop your being good streak just because people are mean to you. You don't have to do something bad because, people are bad to you too. It's more of, do you know in yourself that you didn't do anything wrong? And in my opinion, that's how we should really handle hate. A lot of times hate usually comes from the personal state of the other person. So maybe they're not feeling well, maybe they received hate themselves and they just wanted to let it out, let it go. Or maybe they're just a hateful person because something happened. I don't know. But what I want you to know is when we're dealing with hate, it's really just a matter of how do we view ourselves? Do we agree with the hate that we're receiving? If people say, hey, you're horrible, and maybe you are horrible, but sometimes you have to understand that, hey, I'm trying my best to get better. I'm horrible now, but I really want to be better in the future. If you know in yourself that you're not doing anything wrong, I feel like the best way to really approach hate is to just turn away. Even in the movie The Wild Robot, the duck was learning how to swim, and then everyone was laughing at the duck. And then the fox was like, I know who I'm gonna eat later. It's you guys who are making fun of, this kid. That goes to another thing. It's when you're just a spectator of hate. I know a lot of times, and the right thing actually is to, defend the person receiving hate. I don't disagree with what the movie did, which is, hey, this duck is my friend and my friend is receiving hate. So of course, as a friend, I need to be there for them. I need to have their back. I need to protect them and all that stuff. I like that they went to the defense, but the way that the fox just returned the hate too was not how I would approach it. What I think is if someone you love receives hate, and this is very, very common. If you're watching sports, it's a team sport. If one of the teammates gets hit, suddenly all of the teammates start fighting the other team, right? Or maybe in high school, I've never really seen this happen, thankfully. I didn't go to any like violent schools, but based on at least movies that I see, is when one person gets punched, suddenly the friends show up and they start fighting the friend group. Again, it's just like a matter of like, we're not supposed to be escalating the situation. Instead, we're really supposed to be de-escalating it. So I know it's very hard to stand still when it comes to a loved one receiving hate, right? We want to protect them. We want to make the person spreading the hate eat their words, or like, like, we want to make them never do it again. It may seem like a very cowardly move, but really the best approach is, if someone is receiving hate, the best way is really just like saying, hey, let's get out of here. Be like, hey, let them be, leave them, let's just go. Again, you don't just let it happen. You're not supposed to just take it in. You're supposed to avoid the situation. You're supposed to get out. I know it's very, very hard to stay still in these kind of situations, but when it comes to dealing with hate, we really just need to understand that we shouldn't return that kind of energy. Hate needs to stop right there. We need to be the ones to block it off. We're not here taking it in, we're not absorbing it, we're not taking it to ourselves or keeping it to ourselves, because that would be really toxic. But we're here to put up that barrier, that shield, and be like, yo, the hate stops here. I feel like that's the best way to approach it, because if you accept the hate, if you take in the hate, if you let it like get to you, then what ends up happening is that hate is in you and you gotta let it out, right? So when you let it out, you end up hurting other people too. And that's not really the ideal like cycle of hate, even though that is the very common like cycle of hate, where someone shouts at someone and then that person shouts at someone else and then that person shouts at someone else, and then the cycle just continues. But what I want us to see when it comes to dealing with hate is that we're not supposed to return that energy, because then it's a lose-lose situation. This person is spreading hate and you're spreading hate. We don't want to keep that circle going. We want to stop it right then and there. Let them be hateful, but you should stay who you are. You should stay calm and be yourself and just get out of there. It may seem like a cowardly move, but not everything needs to be dealt with violence or with returning hate or with anything. Sometimes, oftentimes, the best move really is to just walk away. There, the person spreading hate loses because they're spreading hate, and then you win because you're getting out of the situation, and then that hate doesn't go around anymore. Maybe that person is still a source of hate for others, but then at least you yourself don't become a source of hate either. So that's really what we want to avoid when it comes to this. And another scene in the movie actually is where I want to take my second point, or like my second lesson that I learned, which is you can coexist with people that you hate. In the scene, it was during winter, or I don't know. There was a very crazy blizzard. All of the animals were starting to like burrow up. So the fox is like, "Hey, I really don't want to help them, but the robot wants to help all of the animals." So what ends up happening is they save all the animals, they keep them together in one place so that they can all keep warm. And of course, what ends up happening is that all of the animals, just like the natural world, end up hating each other. They end up fighting, they end up chasing each other, eating each other, stuff like that, attacking each other. Just from there, the robot put in predators and prey all in one area. So of course there would be problems. But then the fox started talking, and the fox was like, yo, this robot went out of its way to help all of you. And then now all of you are just gonna repay that good deed by hating on each other, by attacking each other. Like, we're all here trying to survive. Let's just call a truce at the moment, right? So I think that's a really cool lesson where you can coexist with people that you hate, and coexist with people who hate you. I know that, I deal with teenagers, so I understand, and I hear so many stories of them being like, oh, my friend is so fake. They're so two faced. Like, these are words I've never used my entire life. Okay, so it's pretty interesting, but what I want us to hear, or what I want us to understand when it comes to dealing with hate in these kind of situations, we're coexisting with people that we hate. It's not a matter of being two-faced, it's not like in front of them you're being really nice, you're saying good things, you're doing good things, but then the moment that you guys split ways, or the moment that you guys, how do I say this? In the Philippines, we say something like "nice to the front, but they stab you in the back." Something along those lines. Like we're really nice face to face, and then when I turn my back, you put a knife in my back. So that's not what this is about. When we coexist with people we hate and people who hate us, it's not a matter of, oh, let's just deal with it for now, and then when it's all over, I can go back to hating them. you know, it's not a matter of being that way. It's really just like, hey, I don't like this person, but then for now, we just gotta deal with it. And when we really take into account what the scene in The Wild Robot did, is they show that everyone is just trying to survive. If we view other people in that lens, that, oh, this person is also having their own problems. This person is also just trying to survive. I'm trying to survive. I'm going through certain problems. So it's just like, hey, let's stop being hateful and let's just call it a truce. I think that was a really, really cool approach when it comes to dealing with hate. It's really just like, hey, all of us are the same. Instead of being hateful towards one another, let's just be understanding of one another. Let's just really try to get by without trying to kill each other. That kind of thing. So I really enjoyed The Wild Robot because it had a really interesting take when it comes to dealing with hate, which is the best way is to really just get out of that situation. You don't deal with it. And if you do receive hate, you really just have to focus on yourself. The duck was receiving hate for not being able to swim, not being able to fly. So what they did is they just got out of that situation and they continued learning how to do it. So if you receive hate because you don't know how to do something, because you're terrible at something, just get out of that situation and then focus on yourself. Just keep doing what you're doing. And then it's not a matter of, hey, I'm going to do this and I'm going to prove them wrong. That's also the wrong mentality. We're not here trying to do things out of spite. We're out here trying to do things to better ourselves. And I think that really that's the best approach when it comes to dealing with hate. It's a matter of don't let it get to you. People, we have a saying in the church which is hurt people hurt people. So people who are dealing with their own problems, people who are in pain, people who are hurting, they have the tendency to hurt others too. Maybe it's not because they intentionally want to do it. Sometimes you just get so overwhelmed, you get very emotional that you end up saying things that you don't mean. In those cases, lesson number two, sometimes you just have to understand them. Hey, this guy has problems. This guy's just trying to survive. So am I. So let's just understand them. Let's forgive them. Let's just deal with it. It's not a matter of just accepting it. It's not a matter of letting it happen, of course. But in that situation, when you're coexisting with hate, it's really just a matter of understanding them and forgiving them. But of course, if it gets to a certain point, I'm a pretty confrontational person, so I'm not just gonna take it in. I'm gonna be like, hey, you keep saying these things and I don't appreciate it. Hey, I really think that you gotta work on how you deal with people. I know you're struggling, I know you have problems, but this isn't the way that you shouldn't hurt people in the process, kind of thing. So really dealing with hate is something that I've wanted to talk about for a long time because I just keep seeing so much hate around the internet, and it's really 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 weird. This is why I like stop going to comment sections. This is why I try to avoid social media so much, because really it's just filled with so much negativity. But that's not my lesson for today. It's not about social media. It's about, how to deal with hate. So, in conclusion, Just, if you receive hate, we're not here to escalate it. We're here to de escalate it. We're not here to just let it happen. We're not just here to accept it. We're not just like, hey, let it all out. Let it all out. Put it on me. We're not supposed to be accepting it or taking it in. We're supposed to be avoiding the situation as much as we can. And of course, when we do receive hate, we just gotta focus on ourselves. Am I really going to hurt this person because of what they said, because of what they did? The answer is no, which I hope 100% it's always no. Then don't do it. But if your answer is yes, then I would highly recommend that you think again. I really don't want to encourage violence or hate anywhere, especially in this channel. So, when it comes to dealing with hate, just get away from it, focus on yourself. Hate needs to stop with you, it doesn't need to continue with you, or you don't need to continue that cycle of hate. You gotta stop it, learn to understand, and forgive other people. It doesn't make the hate that they're doing correct, but it definitely helps with the way that you like handle their hateful actions and hateful words. So, really, that's all I wanted to talk about in today's video, dealing with hate. So, yeah, live to inspire, live to make a difference, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.